No, it's just you have a shitty relationship with money.
Welcome to the Kingdom Podcast.
Without passive income, you will work the rest of your life with no guarantee of retirement.
Tell me how this sounds to you. I want to work for the next 40 hours a week for the next 40 years to retire on 40% of my income. Does that sound like a good time to you?
It's all bullshit. You went to school and you learned a system that is failing. You learned a system that was designed to make you an employee.
I'm so fucking tired of hearing people say that they don't need to invest, they don't need to be rich, they don't like money. You need to be rich. You want to know why you need to be rich? Because you need to support everyone around you.
The Kingdom Podcast.
What's up, party people? Welcome to the Thunderdome. This is Jordan Stanley Payne, joined by my fantastic co-host, Mr. Fleming.
Welcome to Thunderdome, bitches.
The Thunderdome.
The Thunderdome.
So today we are going to be talking about...
Consistency.
I'm glad you remembered. I forgot for a minute.
Yeah, I told you in the last podcast. I told you in the open letter to Secret. If you didn't listen to that, go listen to that. That the next podcast episode, whatever you want to call it, was going to be on consistency because it is, well, it's what makes or breaks you, in my opinion. That's what I've noticed in business over the past few years, and in getting better at it myself, and watching gentlemen such as Jordan Stanley Payne within the Thunderdome do the same. So it's been really, really cool to see. It's been cool to see others. And in that open letter to Secret Entourage and the Secret Academy Challenge, I also mentioned the other finalists, Dustin Lloyd and David 1K, that they were super consistent as well. So I'm seeing a pattern. When you stay consistent, you win a lot. So that is what I want to focus on, or we want to focus on today.
Absolutely. So I think there's and correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think there's a direct correlation between consistency and focus. There's a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely, because it keeps your momentum going, in my opinion. So if you're staying consistent, even if you have a bad day, bad hour, hell, if you have a bad week, but as long as you stay focused and do one thing each day, your focus is going to be there. You know, you're going to stay consistent. If you take one piece of action each day to improve something, it doesn't even matter what it is, that's going to completely align you with what your goal is. I think your focus is going to stay sharper as well.
I talked about it a little bit on the Friday Fire that we just did, the most recent one. You know, so many people lack the ability to zone in and focus. And if you can't do that one simple thing, I mean, it's not rocket science, right? But if you can't do that one thing, your consistency is going to be all over the place. You're going to be consistent for an hour, then inconsistent for a day, consistent for an hour, consistent or inconsistent for the weekend. It's just, I think they go hand in hand.
It's fucking exhausting too. So we're going to dive deeper into this, but when you have like a good day, so I think a lot of people can relate to this where, man, I could work like 20 hours today. I feel so good. I'm so energized. I'm so motivated. I can do this every day. I know it. And then the next day you feel like complete garbage. And then you don't get anything done because at this time you're only working when you feel good, not just all the time, or staying consistent, focus on one thing, that it turns into this giant tidal wave of ups and downs. And it's absolutely exhausting because you'll end up working on the same thing a handful of times in 1 week, still not be done with it, and then be frustrated and pissed, and that, well, this shit doesn't work. Fuck it. I'm not going to do it anymore. Then you quit. And I think that's why.
That's exactly the story of the new age entrepreneur. You know, they get fired up. They have a great idea. This is like 2 podcasts ago. We were talking about starting a business. They get fired up. They have a great idea. They go balls to the walls for a week or a month or even 6 months, and then they fizzle out because they were lacking the focus. They were lacking the consistency. I would rather you go at a 5 every single day than go at a 10 for day 1, a 1 day 2, a 3 day 4. So like, guys, you don't just find your pace. You know, I ran track pretty aggressively in high school. That was kind of my thing. It's too small to play football. I tried. Too small to play football, but I ran track, and my dad and my track coach just said, dude, you don't have to be the fastest guy out there. You need to find your pace, and you just need to do that consistently, and you'll win. It's the same thing with business, and without focus and without consistency, you're done. You know, you guys have all seen the track races, right? Where somebody they just take off, and you're like, oh my gosh, that guy's gonna win. Okay, well, lap 4 comes around and he's like the last guy.
And he's dying halfway through the race. That was a really good comparison. I actually really like that. That created a good visual.
I used the sport analogy for you.
Yeah, thank you. No, that actually created a really good picture. So there's so much to dig into with that. So you started bringing up, the new age entrepreneur, and people bring up millennials a lot, and people say like, oh, millennials are entitled and they don't feel like they make enough impact, so they're going to quit right away. And it's actually of no fault of their own, in my opinion. I've done a lot of research on this, and so if you are someone that's considered a millennial, that's anyone born after 1983 or 4 ish, right in there. So if you're considered a millennial and you've heard yourself be called lazy or entitled or annoying, anything, I mean, you guys have heard the millennial comments before.
Yep.
But in all reality, it was created by the generation before us. Anybody listening to this that was born before 1984 is going to go, what? No, it was actually created by the generation before us. So the technology that we have, everything moves so quickly now that we are accustomed to instant gratification. So we binge watch shows because we have Netflix now. Why would we wait week to week when we can? Jordan's pointing to himself right now. Why would we wait week to week if we can watch them all in one night? Right? We've all binge watched a show, and we've all felt that pit of after watching a show and going, "What the fuck do I do now? My life is over." We've all felt that before. So we're accustomed to that. We have instant information on our phones. We have instant contact. We have instant downloads. We have all of these instant gratification things. And then when it comes back to building a relationship or building a business, you cannot substitute time in those things. It's not possible. So when you get to that level, or when you start building a business, it's natural to feel like this is never going to fucking work. I got to do something else. I must be doing something wrong because it's not where I want it to be yet. And in all reality, it's on that pace. It's on that track. You just have to continue pointing it in the correct direction because it's something that takes time. There is no way to make yourself a brand if you're, younger than 5, 10, 15 years old as a company. It's just not possible. You don't have time to get yourself out to enough people. Same with relationships. How do you build a relationship in overnight? Jordan, how long have we known each other? A couple of years now.
Yeah.
So it's taken a couple of years for us to become as comfortable as we are with each other. Think about your wife. Think about your husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is. It did not take 10 minutes to be in love. I mean, you got that first look in love. I get that.
That's lust.
I was about to say, we got 1 minute lust. I got that. We're talking love, not lust. Differentiate it.
I want to ask you a question, and I think you're probably the correct person to answer this. I was listening to kind of my normal morning routine, and TD Jakes is one of my favorite guys. And TD Jakes says you've got to show up when you're in love, and you got to show up when you're not in love. So yeah. he was referring that to like a marriage or a relationship, but I look at that as business as well. So do you think that the people that are more consistent, the people that are in this for maybe the longer term, do you think that the satisfaction and the joy of what they're doing has anything to play into it? Because a lot of people that are like, man, I love what I do, like there's a bigger why, there's a bigger overall why. Do you think that has anything to do with the consistency, or do you think it's exactly the same for somebody that's like, I don't really love this, but I'm making money on it?
I think it's absolutely that they have a bigger why. I am a huge believer in that. I know some people say their why is money or like a car and things like that, things that are like a little more shallow. And maybe it works for like a few people because they're super passionate about it and that's actually their passion. I understand that, like that they're the outlier, I think. And that's from not only research, but hanging out with people that have way more than I do. And you know what? Their why is way bigger than the Ferrari or the McLaren or the Rolls or the newer cars that they have or the big house. Their whys are all bigger. Their whys are all these grandiose ideas of I want to help this many people self-educate or do this or do that. And it always comes back to a bigger why, and they're always looking forward 10 or 15 years compared to 10 or 15 minutes, which is really difficult. Most people just look forward to lunch. Like they can't see past lunch, let alone in 10 years in a direction. So when you are working on something that you absolutely love, and like you said, you show up when you're in love and you show up when you're out of love or not feeling the love, that feeling of working on something that you love is called passion. When you go to work every single day and you hate what you do, that's called stress. It's a big time difference. So if you're just making money, but you don't really like what you do, I'm not saying it can't be a business. I'm not saying you can't have an exit plan and make it work and like raise some capital towards something you really want to do. But for how long do you want to be working on something that you hate? And how long can you do that? Because at some point, and it's probably not going to be when you're broke, because at that point it's about the money. It's when you get some money that it becomes more difficult, because then you're comfortable. So if you don't have anything that you love to work on, what do you do at that point? The days that you don't feel like it, you don't show up, and that's when your momentum stumbles.
And to relate it back to just a very practical application, I mean, myself and Todd do what we do because we love seeing people get free. Like that is our bigger why. So that is what drives us to continue doing what we do. That is what drives us to show up every single day. So a lot of times we don't necessarily love the day-to-day, but we love the bigger picture, and we love the vision and the movement of it. So guys, that can be with anything, you know.
I'll tell you right now, I don't always love the day-to-day. It's definitely bigger picture. There's also a balance between like looking in front of you and looking at like the top of the mountain. So what's our ultimate goal? Our ultimate goal, our purpose, is to make the world a more financially secure place through different avenues. When you look at the top of that mountain and you hear people speak about what they know in finance right now, or what they know about business, or what they know about trying to become financially free, or what their goals are, it can be horrifying. It can be really difficult, because you can literally explain absolute gold to someone in 2 sentences or fewer, and then they'll fight you for the next hour and a half. So how do you show up on those days if you don't love it? That's something that's going to be really, really difficult if you're not passionate about it, if it's something that is just a means to an end at the time. And then after you have the money, how do you continue to show up and listen to someone and still have the motivation or the drive to push past that rebuttal and say, can you look at it this way? Can you look at it that way? What would be different if you had this? And that's what gets their mind moving. So when we talk about consistency and showing up every single day, it doesn't have to be a big giant project, right? It doesn't have to be I have to get to this place in my business, be this profitable, be this or that, and then, I'll be done for the day. One singular focus, one singular step, I feel, is the most important thing. And I got that straight from The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. When I started focusing on one thing as opposed to having a list of 12 things to do, everything in my life got better.
Yeah, I was just gonna pop in and say, what are some practical applications that people can do on a day-to-day? So, and I think you were just going there, narrowing it down to this is exactly what I need to get done today in order to move my business forward. And for some of you guys, depending on your business, it might just be a weekly thing. This week I've got to get this one thing done. And when you do that, and when you schedule it out and you commit to that schedule, it's lights out. You're going to be there.
Yeah, when you can ask yourself what I need to do today to make sure that I move forward, it helps narrow down. So you have your 10-year goal, you have your 15-year goal, you have your end goal, whatever it is. So ours is, world more financially secure place. What does that look like? I have no idea. I have no clue, But does that mean we don't work on it every single day? No. It means we just take small steps, and we'll develop a greater picture as time goes on, and we can see more what it looks like, and we can have more great ideas, like how young or how early can we start people on this journey? If we're working with 20 to 80-year-olds right now, what if we can work with a 15-year-old? What if we can work with a 10-year-old? What if we can start them at 5? My son's 1 at this time of recording this, and he's got a house, and he made his first like flip. And I'm going to use the word investment very loosely here, in that he bought some old electronics and flipped them. And of course, he had some help, signing the paperwork. Okay, I get that, but getting him down that path and having him realize, how things work. And he's only one, so we'll see what it looks like in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. But we get this great, this better, clearer picture as we continue working. So if you can ask yourself every day, what can I do today to point my business in a direction that will make the world a better place? What do I need to do this hour? That way, everything else that I need to do is either unnecessary or easier. And again, this is coming straight from the book. I highly recommend the one thing. That's the name of the book, and you're going to see a lot of similarities here, because it helped me so much, helped my business partner so much, helped Jordan so much, narrow down what that looks like. And you can ask yourself the questions and narrow it down to literally that moment. Like, what should I be doing right here, this moment? That way I can be financially free in 36 months.
And don't be afraid to adjust that. I feel like this is turning into a self-awareness podcast in general. We should change the name to the Kingdom Self-Awareness Podcast. But guys, be willing and be open to saying, to changing what you're consistent on and what you're focusing on. In the Kingdom, we've done that countless times. All right, we're going to reevaluate. Now we need to be focusing on this, and these are the consistent steps that we need to be taking this week or this month to get what we're doing. I mean, even this month, we've got a new idea, we've got a new plan, and we're changing up our consistency from last month to this month. So don't be afraid, guys, to do that, because if you can't adapt with business, and if you can't adapt with changing economies and changing marketing and media platforms, like you're not going to do very well.
Yeah, and your one thing that day doesn't have to be something huge. It can be, I'm going to read a chapter on something I want to get better at and have a better understanding of. That way you can implement it maybe in 6 months. Who knows? Education and knowledge, like when you gain it, doesn't mean it has to be implemented that second. If it's something that needs to be done right away or acted upon, yeah, you should. But as you're gaining perspective from other industries or other leaders or other business owners, you are gaining knowledge. And when you gain that knowledge, you're able to implement that into your business at some point. And you'll know the right time now because you actually understand that. That's why it's so important to keep learning. So a big part of me staying consistent is that I learn something every day. I might go 3 days in a row where people would consider like, oh, I didn't do anything that day. But in reality, I read 6 chapters on something we might be able to possibly implement in 6 months. And that's been instrumental in our growth in the Kingdom, or our growth in Coalition, my investment company, as well as other avenues, and just learning to gain perspective and better learn how to communicate with people.
And it's fun because when you grow in one company or one arena, you grow in the other ones as well. Same with myself, same with the other entrepreneurs, and that's just fun. I mean, when we grow personally, what's the quote? The rising tide elevates all ships, or whatever.
Raises all ships. Yeah.
So if I'm working on myself, my mindset, my motivation, consistency, any of that stuff, it benefits everybody that I work with. It benefits people that I have personal relationships with. It benefits my family. And guys, it's just about growing daily and not stopping, no matter what you're doing. Yes, we take time off. Yes, we take a weekend off and we recoup, but that's part of being consistent. That's part of progressing forward. So don't forget that.
Yeah, and consistency. What does consistency look like? You might be asking yourself that. What does it feel like? What does it look like? It might feel or look different to different people from different perspectives, but consistency to me is that every single day you get one little thing done. You might take the weekend off, but you read a couple chapters, or you listen to a podcast. You do something to keep your mind sharp, because consistency is a practice, and at first it's going to be really, really difficult, because it's easier to put things down and it's easier not to do anything when you don't feel like it, because those are the test days, right? Those are the days where you're going to end up getting better by just doing that one thing than when you feel good and do that one thing. So make sure that you're practicing this, because in the beginning you're gonna have to have some discipline. First month, first 2 months, you're gonna have some discipline. It's gonna be really difficult. What's cool about that is that after a month or two, or however long it takes you to, build that momentum within consistency, is it's going to become habit, and it's no longer going to take any energy. And when it's no longer taking much of your energy, you can go work on something else at that point, and you're going to keep your consistency. You're going to keep that one thing that you work on every single day. You're going to keep that one little piece of progress, that one step forward. So you're going to stop moving backward. You're going to stop feeling overwhelmed. You're going to stop feeling exhausted, because you're going to be super, super consistent. And that is when massive, massive results happen.
And guys, this kind of ties into a daily routine and a consistent routine. And I'm not a huge fan, Todd. I know you're not either. And this is a completely separate podcast topic, but the point of all of this stuff is we want people to be free. And being free means I may decide to start my day at 5 a.m. or I might decide to start my day at 5 p.m. But when I get in that mode and when I start that cycle, it's very consistent. So we'll probably do another podcast on daily routines, but guys, just get out there and start figuring out what works for you. Start figuring out what systems work for you and what things, some people do a timer on their phone, like, hey, for this hour, I'm going to be doing this. So then I'm going to transition to this. I really don't care how you do it. Just get out there and start doing it. Just start implementing these things that we've been talking about in these podcasts.
Time blocking.
Time blocking.
Did we talk about time blocking yet? I can't remember.
Oh God, every podcast.
Yeah, I know. Todd loves his time blocking.
So I threw out, I don't remember if it was the Friday episode we did or the one before that. I threw out a challenge to some of you guys, and I said, shoot me a message on Facebook. If I've never met you, if we've never had a conversation, shoot me a message on Facebook. My personal Facebook, you guys can reach me at, is at Jordan Stanley Payne. I would love to meet you guys. If you guys are listening in and we haven't talked, I would love to be able to connect with you. Networking is a huge part of what we do. Our website also has some fantastic information. That is www.thekingdomrealestate.com. You can also shoot us a message on either Instagram or Snapchat. I'm on there very often. And Todd's going to be on there often. Both Instagram and our Facebook page are at The Kingdom Real Estate. And our Snapchat is The Kingdom REI.
Yeah, and if you guys want to continue the conversation, I'd love to have you part of the Kingdom. And there's even a 14-day free trial right now. So it's risk-free for you.
Love it. Love it. Guys,
Closing statements?
Closing statements. Start implementing this week. This podcast launches on Monday morning. Take some time on Monday and start mapping out your week. Start mapping out, where do I want to be next month? And just start writing it out, guys. I mean, pen and paper, a notepad. This doesn't have to be super fancy. Just start marking it out. This is where I want to be next month. These are the things that I need to be consistent in to get there. And these are the things that these are the systems that I need to put into place. Just do it.
Yeah, it'll help you big time. You take that first little step, it's going to be scary, but then you're going to realize it's not that scary after you take it. And what's cool about this is after you take that one little step, say you listen to Jordan and you map out your week, the Monday that you're listening to this or the Tuesday that you're catching this, whatever day you're catching this, and you're mapping out that next week. After you're done mapping out that week, that was your one step for the day. That can be your beginning to consistency. It doesn't have to be anything overwhelming like, oh, I got to work for 10 hours to build this consistency. No, after you plan it, that can be it. And it's on to the next day. And then literally, if you don't stop, you will get to where you want to be.
Amen.
Thanks for joining. If you guys want to continue this conversation, head over to thekingdomrealestate.com. We'd love to have you, and we'll see you in the next episode.